On the road to Beechworth, Luke Rowe emerged as the winner. But the bigger story, that was happening behind him as the yellow jersey, Damien Housen, fought to save his race.
Look at the face of now Esteban Chavez. What a man to set the pace for Damien Housen. He could be saving the day.
And he saved it with just 500 metres to go. One name and get your reaction. Esteban Chavez.
Hero.
Today the sprinters get their chance. Danny Van Poppel will be chasing another win, but there's a long list of fast finishers hunting stage honours. 200 kilometres north of Melbourne, Benalla is the host of Stage 2 as we head from here through to Mitchelton Winery. Beautiful place with its wonderful art gallery, the famous wetlands out at Winton, and there's ceramic murals that make this street art that you can walk through any time of the day. Plus there's the wetlands here in Benalla itself. Phil, it's appropriate that we start here today on a stage that favours the sprinters because Benalla is the home of Baden Cook, the winner of the green jersey at the Tour de France.
Indeed he is, and I've met Baden already this morning. We've been out riding together. But this is a great cycling town, and they're looking forward to what we think will be a good day.
Yesterday it was Luke Rowe that got the win. So for 2 days in a row, we've had one of the support riders from the team steal the show. Today, it should be a day for the sprinters, surely.
Well, they're hoping so because there isn't much left for them in this race now. Tomorrow certainly won't be. And we've got some very fast sprinters in this race. But they're still tricky, and they've got to get over the Strathbogie ranges and get down in towards Nagambie. It won't be easy for the sprinters.
And as Damien Housen discovered yesterday, in the yellow jersey, there's always pressure and anything can go wrong.
Full of admiration, talking to the people today, full of admiration for the way he got back 500 metres from the finishing line. That's a champion for you. I think half the race hopes he wins now tomorrow.
Well, he's got another day of defence as we head to the Mitchelton Winery, then to Kinglake tomorrow. In the meantime, the favourites for today's stage, they're with David McKenzie.
The last sprint comes really close to the finish. It's only about 12k, so I think the real frontline sprinters will probably be focusing on the finish. So I might try and nab those last points if it's all together. But to be honest, I'd be happy to see a breakaway go up the road and soak everything up. And I've got enough of a lead, as long as it's not Robbie Hucker pinching him. Happy days.
How did you sleep last night after the drama of yesterday's stage?
Surprisingly a bit better than the day before. I think the excitement of a stage win and the possibility of holding yellow was pretty hard to sleep on the previous night, but last night make sure I got a good amount of shut-eye and yeah, it was okay.
How do you feel about today's stage and defending yellow one more time on a day that's for the sprinters? They can be tricky tactically.
Yeah, it can be. The roads here are very open and exposed to the wind, so that's an element today for sure, but normally it seems simple on paper, a bunch sprint into Mitchelton Winery. I'd be happy with that scenario and just to hold the same amount of time I have on GC currently.
Talking tactics, stage 3, Benalla to Mitchelton Winery. Yesterday, all of the controversy surrounding the yellow jersey wearer Damien Housen. His puncher on the last KOM. Did Sky attack? That's for you to decide. They came here, they want to win, and this is where it's going to happen. Today, they come into Mitchelton Winery. 70 k's an hour, they'll enter this final corner before the finale sprint. It'll be a fast finish. It'll be a sprinter that takes the win.
The race starts in Benalla. It makes a 167.7 kilometre journey to Nagambie and the Mitchelton Winery. It takes in the Midland Highway, then through to Violet Town. It's predominantly flat until they hit 2 King of the Mountains points, which come in very quick succession. It's then on to the intermediate sprint before the main obstacle as they head through to Nagambie, and Mitchelton itself will be the potential crosswind with flat, wide, exposed open roads. The climb in the middle, that it is a day for the sprinters in the end. An early start in Benalla, a ride to raise money towards research for motor neuron disease. And who's that winning the sprint? Phil Liggett, that's you. In a photo, it's Liggett who takes the win.
Thank you very much, Matt, and I must say they've done a great job. Over the last 10 years, they've raised almost $500,000. This gentleman is 76 years of age, and he made me struggle, I'll tell you.
Out there with you, you had Baden Cook. He would have been able to show you all the roads. He's a local from Benalla. Did you enjoy the ride?
Yeah, okay.
I did. They were wonderful people, and they've raised a few bucks for a great cause as well. Back to the serious race now. The atmosphere is electric here. Luke Rowe smiling after his victory and being introduced to the crowd. Great ride yesterday.
They're putting on the jerseys, the Victorian government jerseys, as the leaders of the team's classification. Luke Rowe, what a win it was yesterday for Rowe. Chris Froome, he looks relatively calm. Danny Van Poppel on the far side of the screen, one of the big favourites for today's stage. And Baton Cook is about to pull the trigger.
I'm surprised he could after riding with me for 50 kilometres, but he's done a good job. Former green jersey winner in the Tour de France. This was his hometown. He knows all of these roads.
And he won this race in 2002, just before going on to win that green jersey at the Tour. Neutral zone, only a few kilometres today to get out of Benalla. The white jersey, Jai Hindley, staying right up towards the front. So too the yellow jersey of Damien Housen, rightly so.
John Tavaro always found at the front at this time of the day, ready to haul in the red flag and let them go just over 3 kilometres at neutralised possession. Just peeping into the picture there, the yellow jersey of Damien Housen, the race leader. Had a big fright yesterday, but he put it all to rights 500 metres from the finish. The flag is in and the attacks are on.
And it's the St George team, the first to go. Darcy Allen Norton is trying to open up the gap. This is Danny Van Poppel, who as soon as the flag came in, he had a rear wheel puncher. The good news for him is that so too did Taco van der Hoorn, another one of the Dutchmen in the race. So they're working together, step by step, patiently up through the cars.
They'll get back into the pack, although this is a very, very quick start today. They're picking up a helpful win, that's for sure, but our speedometer is saying around 50 to 55 kilometres an hour. They're up for it.
Which is going to make it so difficult for anybody to force the breakaway. Van der Hoorn and Van Poppel rejoin.
Deep sighs of relief because that peloton is not waiting for anybody just now. Pressure is on again in the front. The Russian Gazprom team driving it in blue. Others want to get in. The blue jersey back there is United Healthcare. Very prominent team in this race. And the orange jerseys of the Dutch Roompot team.
The United Healthcare team, though, were desperate to make the breakaway yesterday. They missed the initial move, and then they sent one rider, Tanner Putt, across, and he was the last rider to join yesterday what was a breakaway group of 10.
And he survived to finish third. He had to struggle towards the end, but that was a big result for Tanner.
The pink colours down at the back. This is Jay Dutton nearest the picture. They rode well yesterday. They didn't fear the big teams. They put their best climber, Ben Dybel, right up towards the front. And he was the last guy up to Stanley who survived alongside Chris Froome.
The riders are going to find it's okay at the moment for them, and there's plenty of action here. A little split in the field as we speak, and the yellow jersey and Chris Froome have got into it, so I can't believe this is going anywhere. But they've got the tailwind. There's a reaction from the main field behind by Jai Hindley in particular. But the thing is, as we get into the Strathbogie range, this is quite a hard course today.
Well, this group is surely the cause of reaction. That's Sam Bewley at the front. Now the yellow jersey, the overall race leader, Damien Housen. Froome, you can see him just drifting back down through the group in the black colours.
You've got to love it, haven't you? The yellow jersey has got himself in a move here. I don't reckon this was planned, but he's in it, so he's going to give it a go. You never know.
Jesse Fentonby goes through in the red colours. Larry Warbass from the Aqua Blue team, the New Irish squad. This is Froome. The rest of the riders in this group, they must realise that with the yellow jersey and Chris Froome in the move, the peloton will respond.
The Subaru King of the Mountains, Ben Hill, has got on the back there, but I don't see any sign of Jai Hindley, the second placed overall. There's got to be a reaction from this field.
Therefore, his team will certainly do the chasing.
Well, this is most unexpected, but that's the way this race has been all 3 days here. But it is the JLT Condor team. Had a great race so far, and they've got a sprinter for the finish today who closes the gap.
For that British team, you're right, it wasn't the chase down in terms of defending their position in the general classification. That was about the hopes that their sprinter, Brenton Jones, could be the stage winner. All back together again. The yellow jersey has now been caught, so too Chris Froome. Who's next to go?
Good. Well, we're heading up towards Harry's Creek Road. It's wonderful names in Australia, aren't they? Well, Harry's Creek Road, we have 2 climbs, 4th category, a very quick succession when we get there. 65 kilometres in and 73 kilometres in. And these boys are on all undulations now here.
Pavel Brut at the front, trying to force a breakaway. Another big reaction coming. New South Wales Institute of Sport, they've been active throughout this year's race. Aidan Tuvey, he was the wearer of the white jersey after day one in the prologue. He's worked his way across.
Yeah, orange jersey there is Jerome Mayers, Dutchman, checking out to see who's coming over. Somebody's scuttling across there from United Healthcare as well.
That was Adrian Hegvardy trying to come across for United Healthcare. Peloton not letting them go, not just as yet anyway. They are still strung out. Anthony Giacopo is about to join.
Big, strong Anthony Giacopo. I think Aaron Gate is coming over as well.
This is the New Zealander now who is at the front, Hamish Schurers. By Kiwi standards, they've been a little quiet so far. Normally, they get themselves into lots of breakaways. This is the first significant one we've seen the Kiwi team make it into.
We've already pushed this out to nearly 5 minutes ahead of the fastest expected time at this point. So this has been a real battle. It's got to take its toll shortly. And it looks as though the bunch have evaluated this breakaway. Well, I hope they've realised that Pavel Brut is in this move, because that man is only 3 minutes 34 seconds off the race lead, and he's in the breakaway.
And here he is right at the front, a former stage winner at the Giro d'Italia. Aaron Gate in the aqua blue colours. Well, that's the name of the team, but it's navy blue, their colours. He was the last one to come across. The yellow jersey now back in the main peloton with the strong Orica Scott team surrounding him.
Simon Gerrans tucked under his armpits there, looking after him. Chavez, everybody now looking after this man in yellow. After yesterday, they brought him back into the race. So finally, it was Chavez that got him up there 500 metres ago. Sam Bewley stalking the peloton, taking over the pacemaking. Okay, it looks like they've assessed the value of that breakaway. Now they're going to decide when to chase it down.
Chris Froome yesterday, many of the questions were asked. What happened when the yellow jersey was losing contact?
It was pretty hard to hear exactly what was going on, where everyone was. I didn't even know that Luke was out front on his own at that point, but yeah, I mean, obviously hearing that Howson had punctured, I think that slowed the race up a little bit. Guys not that keen to really take the race on, which is one of those nice things about cycling, is the unwritten rules of the sport and the respect for the leader's jersey.
But tomorrow, full gas, attack the yellow jersey.
Yeah, tomorrow, last day. I mean, 130k, just gonna squeeze everything out. Last big day out here, so yeah, looking forward to it.
Despite tomorrow being the last big day of climbing, the last day of the race, today can't be underestimated. We've seen Chris Froome, particularly at last year's Tour de France, cause some splits and take some time on flat stages.
Now, we've seen some good racing. Now, we must recall what Chris Froome did on the last day last year. He took the race and he won it on the final day. And they have to do it again this year. It's easy to see why Melbourne is the undisputed events capital of Australia. The vast sports precinct that includes the famous Melbourne Cricket Ground and the venue that hosted both an Olympic and Commonwealth Games. And of course, there's always the walk down the laneways or the entertainment, especially in Federation Square. Not far away, you can run along the coastlines. You can even see the 12 Apostles, or is it 11? And of course, the vineyards abound here in the area around Melbourne.
Breakaway group, they've made their way through Violet Town. This is Aaron Gate sitting at the rear of that group. Every day that the Aqua Blue team has raced in Australia, they've been in the breakaway. They're off to an aggressive start as a team.
They are indeed. They've been on the attack every day. They're guided by the Danish former pro and stage winner in the Tour de France, Nicky Sorensen. And Sorensen knows all about how to train a bunch of riders. Big test for him too. And he's certainly getting the best out of these riders at the moment, as they're bound now up towards Harris Creek Road. Let's hear from Nicky himself. He's following them.
Yeah, but the boys are doing excellent. They're really good at following the plan, and they are obviously riding with a passion, and that's all I can ask for at this point. I feel fairly confident about this breakaway today. We have the Russian guy up there, Pavel Brut, is at 3 minutes and 40. so they won't be able to get too much gap from the peloton, but I think there's still a fair chance for it to go to the finish. And my guy Aaron Gate is definitely in good shape, so it couldn't be much better for me, for us.
He's off to a good start, isn't he, as a sports director? What we do learn from that is they're following his instructions, therefore his riders respect him.
Well, at least that way, if it goes wrong, they can blame Nicky, but so far it's all working out for him. That's the man he's afraid of, Pavel Brut. It's Brut by name and Brut by nature. He's a really tough prospect.
They're on to the first of two climbs. Darcy Allen Norton is the rider who is at the front. The leader of the Subaru King of the Mountains classification, Ben Hill, he tried to get into the earlier breakaways, but he missed this one. He'll be a little disappointed. There's not a lot of points up for grabs on these climbs. They're only Category 4.
You're right. There's only 8 for the man across, and no one in this break is remotely challenging the King of the Mountains for Subaru, so it's good news, really, for Ben Hill. This is Luke Rowe, the winner of yesterday, back to his regular day job now, collecting the bottles and giving out to his teammates.
After he won the stage yesterday, we managed to show him the technical guide for this race, and there's a picture of Luke at the front of the peloton towing it along in this normal role. And he said, yeah, that's what I normally do, but I quite enjoy this winning business.
Well, I must say, it's catching as you're making his pace. It's not easy to race through the peloton when you're approaching the first King of the Mountains of the day. He's found the team, stand by for distribution now. The rider's just marking everybody here. It's Orica, with, not surprisingly, Orica Scott at the front, who have got the yellow jersey on the squad. Sky are just watching their moves. There's one for Chris Froome. What's he going to do, eat it or drink it?
Let's hope he drinks it. And he's also providing some of the instructions. One of the younger guys on Team Sky at the Tour de France, he's dropped a bit, and that's very unlike Luke. Yet he's normally the captain on the road. Ian Stannard, amateur.
Yes, I heard Ian say that. Anyway, the King of the Mountains, they've gone over the top. There wasn't a real sprint. Jerome Meyers has got it for Roompot, the Dutchman, and behind him was Ellen Norton and Hamish Shearers.
Drew Morey is the rider at the back, number 106, sitting in second last position. And Pavel Brut, he didn't try and contest that intermediate sprint. He's actually the overall race leader on the road, the virtual yellow jersey, but there's still a long way to go.
The pelotons further down the climb here. This is the first climb of the day. Sam Bewley leading the Orica Scott team, looking after the yellow jersey. This is a perfect scenario just now. They'll be worried about the location of Pavel Brut. There's a rider with a problem here. Looks like a JLT rider, I think.
Here's JLT Condor. This is Edmund Bradbury. Well, they missed that first breakaway. They did a lot of the chasing, and they believe they've got the winner on their team today, Brenton Jones, who was second in the prologue behind Danny Van Poppel. And Van Poppel's the favourite to win today. Some encouragement from the side of the road.
Well, this is a beautiful stretch of the road, and you can see that the race is on because this is a long, thin line. Back up with the leaders at the moment. This is Jerome Myers, who won the climb. Now he's getting the ice packs down his back. It is getting quite warm, I have to say. It's hitting 30s now. We're 500 meters from the top of the second climb on this road. There's no more classified climbs after this. So this is the last climb of the day in the Subaru King of the Mountains. And frankly, it doesn't matter who wins. Ben Hill will keep his lead tonight.
But there's tomorrow to think about as well. Jerome Myers, he's just put a bunch of ice down the back of his jersey because the temperatures are into the low 30s, and he does want the points. So too does Hamish Shearers. Likewise with Darcy Allen Norton. But Jerome Myers, he is proving to be just too strong. The Dutchman powers away at the top and collects the points once again.
Huge effort to take those points, so he's got both the climbs today in the Subaru King of the Mountains, giving him 16 points in the competition. Shearers is in second place there.
No contest back in the peloton. There's no more points left to race for them.
They're not bothered. The gap is at 4 minutes 8 seconds at the moment. And these are the youngsters in white here from the Cordomental Real Estate Australian national team, with absolute superstars. They've had to bow to second fiddle at the moment to the Sky team in the team race. But hey, the Sky team in the team race is the world's #1 team, and the second to them.
And most of them are in their early 20s. Their oldest rider is 29 years of age, and he's Mr. Experience. He's the leader, the captain on the road. this group with 88 kilometres remaining, 9 riders, they've been out in front since around about 15 or 20 kilometres having been covered. They haven't missed a beat. They're working really well together.
No, this is a tough day of racing. People think when there's no high mountains, it's going to be a little bit easier, but it is not today. It's getting hotter and hotter as we continue along. It's a long straight road, and as you can see, the road is undulating. Nice descent coming up at the moment, and we should see speeds of 90 kilometres an hour on the way down.
This is the road down into Euroa, which is where the intermediate sprint, the first of 2 intermediate sprints, will be contested. We'll be getting up to speeds of close to 100 kilometres per hour down here because there are no technical corners. Tuck position and leave the brakes alone.
And what a diverse state Victoria is for the views here now. We've had the high mountains of the Victorian Alps. We're now looking at the undulations of the Strathbogie Ranges as we're bound today for Mitchelton Winery outside of Nagambie. And it looks as though, do they call these agapanthus? They're very pretty.
They do. Ignored by the breakaway group of 9. They're now hitting Euroa and they're opening up for the sprint. And Darcy Allen Norton, he contested the previous King of the Mountains climb and he wants these points for the Metro Trains green jersey. And he validates his ticket and he takes 6 points.
Easy, 94.9 kilometres under the wheels. Darcy gets those. Pavel Brut in second place. A couple of seconds time bonus for him as well. Worth remembering at this moment. He's now only 3 minutes and 32 seconds behind. And still the leader on the road.
Great to see the St. George team in the breakaway today. They rode strongly yesterday, but it's good that they're off the front with this large group. And one rider from Sky, that's Sebastian Anal, sitting in second position. So they're contributing to the chase, which at that sprint has moved out now to 4 minutes and 26 seconds. Nicky Sorensen, the sports director for Aqua Blue, may have read the move right.
It's quite a long transition now to Nagambie itself, which is where the second Metro train sprint is. The gap is at 4 minutes 08, so it's time now to concentrate on that gap, because right now there is a Russian rider, Pavel Brut, sitting at just 3 minutes and 32 seconds off the yellow jersey, and he leads by 4 minutes and 8. Is the virtual leader.
He is, and it's a strong group. They're all prepared to work. This is at the back of the race. Angus Lyons is the rider in the Quarter Menta Real Estate colours. He's working towards the front to protect their men, as it's Orica Scott who are doing the chasing.
Australia is famous for its beaches, and in Melbourne you don't have to go too far to find them. Melbourne is the perfect combination of the old and the new, with stunning World Heritage listed architecture, as well as contemporary public places like Federation Square. Or you can just go down the laneways, which offer an eclectic collection of bars. Get out of town, experience some of Victoria's magnificent coastline, while Melbourne itself comes alive after sundown.
Breakaway group of 9 still with that advantage of just on 4 minutes. It's Pavel Brut at the front that leads them through that left-hand turn, followed by Hamish Shuras of the New Zealand national team. Darcy Allen Norton is also in the group. Now the chase, it's not just Orica Scott, it's JLT Condor who have come to the front for Brenton Jones. This is Jai Hindley, the leader of the Best Young Rider classification, riding for the Quarter Menta Real Estate team, who are having an enormous impact on this race.
Well, every year on the Jayco Herald Sun Tour, emerging talent shows itself at this great bike race. And this year is no different. The Quarter Menta Australian national team, they are throwing the challenge out to win this race. Not only that, they're challenging the very best in the world, Chris Froome.
Chris Froome looking round to see what is going on behind him. All of a sudden, he's got an awful lot of company here. The youngsters from the Quarter Menta Real Estate squad, they are here to tear this race apart, and they're up for it.
They're performing exceptionally, and they have done all summer, so we all knew that they had it in them, but they were really looking forward to the stages here, the trip up Falls Creek and versing the likes of Chris Froome, who's won the Tour de France, and Esteban Chavez. So they really are having a great week, and I think they're showing the world what they can do.
These riders in white are amazing. They boast most of the youngest riders in this race, and they're right up amongst the sharp end of the event.
It's surprising to see a group of guys who come together like that at the last minute, and how well they've formed as a group. They've really been riding well together, and I think it shows in the results with a few of them right up there.
The youngest riders in the race are unbelievable, and they're riding up, two of them to the summit.
You sit around the dinner table either pinching yourselves, or you're saying, yeah, we're throwing out the challenge to the best in the world.
It's an unreal experience, but I guess everyone's just having a good time and enjoying the racing. It's like a really good group of guys, and everyone's gelling pretty well together, so it's a good environment to be in.
They've been up there with numbers every day, and definitely a lot of young talent coming through there.
They respect what Chris Froome has done, but they're ready to take him on as well, and you've seen that this week. So I'm amazed every day, and I'm happy to be a part of it. I think it keeps me young as well, and it keeps me on my toes in trying to just look for those little opportunities. And when I speak about an opportunity, they're ready to go and take it.
That's the best young group of talent riding as a team I've seen, and what they did yesterday was pretty special. The inexperience, but the confidence to go out there and have a real crack.
It looks as though we've got just attacking there. Cam Myers having a go. Meyer has gone clear.
You tell me that you've been shunted from the Let's Go motorhome, so the young guys get that, and you've got to go in the dodgy van on the other side of the road.
Yeah, I mean, I might be the old guy, but they do call the shot sometimes. They deserve it, and they can take the motor home this week.
All said in jest, of course, but those young men would be well advised to keep Cameron Meyer in the motorhome. They can learn a lot from a guy like that.
Well, they're not in evidence today, because today they'll see as a transition. They're just going to look after Jai Hindley in second place overall. Same for the Sky Boys with their man at the top in Ellison. At the feeding station now, the gap is not closing down. I have to say they're making a bit of a meal of this, which was opportune because they've gone through the feeding zone, but honestly they should have closed this down by now.
This is at the back of the race, JLT Condor. This is Edmund Bradbury, who we saw earlier on with a mechanical problem. He's quickly returned. Just alongside him in the blue colours from United Healthcare, that's Johnny Clark, one of the locals, a Melburnian who's spent a lot of time for the last 5+ years in the United States.
But he still misses home. That's why he comes here. Here's Jacob Kaufman in the green jersey, and he's looking safe in that for another day going into tomorrow.
He's had the past 2 days of the breakaway. Today he gets a rest as Aidan Tuvey from that team goes into the move. Simon Gerrans didn't like that, and he's just dispatched that off to the side. But something else in that musette bag he did like.
These are the leaders now. They seem to be locked in. It's a case of deja vu like yesterday when we were locked in at around 4:40 all day. Now we're locked in at around 3:30. And at the time we're heading to Nagambie, this road doesn't get any easier. This man is just about hanging on to the virtual leadership of this race at the moment. He's a dangerous man. I've seen him break away and ride home alone when the moment is right.
He's riding strongly at the front. This is Jerome Mayers, the Dutchman, who rolls through. He soaked up the King of the Mountains points on offer on today's stage. Drew Morey at the back from the Drapac Pats Veg team, a team that has been supporting the development of young Australian cyclists now for some 15 years.
46 kilometres out now. We've got the sprint in Nagambie, and then it's a 12.7 kilometre dash for the finishing line in Mitchelton Winery. The roads are pretty narrow around here, and when you've got big trucks like that, they get even narrower.
It makes for some stressful time in the peloton with the roads being so narrow. The locals are enjoying it. You can see that wind now is coming from their right shoulder across the road. So there's a fight that is starting for positions behind these men at the front doing the pacemaking.
And I think these teams are pretty concerned now that they're not coming into the chase hard enough to catch up with these leaders. They're still hanging on in there. Remember, they did survive yesterday. At least 4 of them did.
That was a nice way to enjoy it at the hotel. Aaron Gate through at the front in the aqua blue team. Darcy Allen Norton from St George. Adrian Hegvari of United Healthcare. For the ISO Way team, ISO Way Sports Swiss Wellness team, it's Anthony Giacopo, a former Australian Criterium champion.
Joe Myers completing the back there, but the man they're all after is the rider in second place here, Pavel Brut, the Russian rider. He is the wanted man just now.
Nicky Sorensen now coming forward to give a fresh water bottle to Aaron Gates. At the Cadell Evans Great Ocean Road race, when his man Connor Dunn was in the breakaway, they went up alongside the breakaway, Nicky did, and gave everybody instructions to work well together. Looks like he's done the same today. They're all working strongly.
We've heard Nicky say he thinks this breakaway will survive to the finish. Well, we'll see, because the Sky team have now come to the front because they've got Danny Van Poppel. The gap is down to 2 minutes.
Ian Stannard leading. In second position was Chris Froome, and it looks as if Froome is working to support Van Poppel.
Well, these roads are what we call heavy roads here. Lots of changes in direction. We're crossing the railway tracks a few times now as we circumnavigate to get through to Nagambie.
The crosswind has sprung up and the Dutch Rompot team has come to the front.
Always lovely to see the Dutch race up in Friesland, which is right on the ocean, on the waters, and the wind blows and it's freezing cold. It suits the Dutch now. It's not freezing cold, but the wind is having an effect. And Angus Lyons here of the Australian national team just getting back on. I presume he's had a little bit of a problem.
And you can see the damage that has been done by the Rompot team when they went to the front. Riders losing contact, including the very experienced Greg Henderson. Neutral service for Darcy Allen Norton, courtesy of SRAM. It's hot, 33, 34 degrees. Drew Morey in the red colours at Drapac Pats Veg.
Well, they're still working hard. These boys are full of fight. They believe they can survive on this day. A breakaway cheating the sprinters indeed, as we head towards Nagambie now, and the big sprint, home of Black Caviar, of course, the famous racehorse. 25 rides, 25 wins.
And you can feel the sense of tension in the peloton. The blue colours of the Gazprom team, they're working their way to the front. It's Ian Stannard, followed by Sebastian, and now, in fact, it was Kenny Allison up there in second position. It's Allison they're keeping protected. Third overall, Allison, and they're making sure they don't get caught out in a crosswind.
22 kilometres to go. As we make the long straight roads here, there's lots of these twists and turns. They all look the same, but they're trying to get through to Nagambie before they make the narrower approach to the winery itself.
The bad news for the breakaway is they make that right-hand turn. 1 minute and 45 seconds is the gap, and they hit a slight headwind. The good news for the peloton is they make that right-hand turn, and they hit a slight headwind. That is to the peloton's advantage.
They're inside 25 kilometres from the finish. They're still trying to work well together. Some of the shoulders are rocking a bit there. I think one or two of those riders are getting tired. It's Sky now driving, and they're making a meal of this. They're finding this chase extremely hard. They weren't expecting to chase as hard as this.
And the man who is doing the chasing is the man who is normally the protected rider of July in yellow. It's Chris Froome himself who was chasing for Van Poppel.
They've sensed they're slowing down in the breakaway. There's a little flurry of action here. Bit slow to act at the back of the race here with Drew Morey. But the gap's open, but they've shut it down, and it looks as though we're 20 kilometres from the finish. The pressure now is really on. We've got the highway, in fact, through Nagambie, where small gaps, they'll spot them down. 1:13.
Anthony Giacopo at the front of the breakaway. Cameron Meyer coming forward in the peloton. Will the sprinters catch the breakaway and take the stage honours?
Architecture abounds in Melbourne, from the beautiful parkland at the River Yarra, which goes through the CBD district. This is the place for fun, pleasure and business. And once you leave the centre of the city, you get out of town, you experience some of the famous stretches of beaches and, of course, some of Victoria's magnificent wineries. It's the place to go at any time of the year.
Business end of the race, 1 minute and 22 seconds. They're approaching Nagambie, the intermediate sprint. That's not their objective. The finish line at Mitchelton Winery is. The peloton can see them.
Yes, the long straight road, that represents 1 minute and 22 seconds, and it is still Sky, still Chris Froome doing a lot of work. They are driving, and they're only having a slight effect. They're not eating into that breakaway.
It speaks volumes of how strongly the breakaway is working. Froome is chasing, and they're only just chipping away ever so slightly at the advantage.
It's interesting to see Froome doing all this work, which means that it looks to me as though they're working for Ellison for a high finish tomorrow in this event. Another left-hand turn, another change of wind direction as they continue towards Nagambie now. We're not far away from getting into the town, and the chase really is on. Can we see the peloton? They're in the distance. You can't quite see them, but they are there. The gap is probably now just on a minute.
The cars not too far away from being called out of that gap. Froome leading the peloton through the corner. He has been doing huge turns of pace at the front.
Well, this is not to be expected from the 3 times Tour de France winner. Quite clearly, he's looking for good form for later on. He swung off there and said, okay, somebody else has got to do this, because the breakaway is split now.
They're into Nagambie for the intermediate sprints. It's Aaron Gate at the front, followed by Pavel Brut. It's then Anthony Giacopo. Jerome Mayers is holding on, and Aidan Turvey is dangling.
And the others are out of it, and Gates takes it. It wasn't really a sprint. They're thinking of the finish now. Here it is, Darcy, Ellen Norton, who he's been dropped as they rip across Nagambie now.
Darcy, Ellen cramping. He is tightening up. It's been a tough day out on the bike for Darcy. And Pavel Brut still super motivated. The remnants of the breakaway, they're about to be absorbed by the peloton. They won't stay there for too long, because now at the front, it's the powerhouse, Yogi Bear, Ian Stannard, who is towing them along.
Well, the Sky have really put the colours on the mast. They're riding for Danny Van Poppel, that's for sure, who won the prologue time trial. He's their sprinter, but there's still an awful lot of work to be done here as they continue to push on the pedals.
And Pavel Brut is done. He surrenders. So too Giacopo, but not the Kiwi. Aaron Gate of the Irish Aqua Blue team is still on with the business.
Well, this is what Nicky Storensen has instilled into this team, and he's getting results. It's going to be one against the field. The gap is closing all of the time.
The Metro Trains green jersey, the sprint classification. Jacob Kaufman, 2 days in the breakaway. He's doing the chasing for his sprinter, Alex Waller. You'd think he'd have more sympathy for the breakaway.
I don't think anybody's got sympathy for anyone right now, because Luke Rowe, yesterday's winner, has taken up the front of that chase as well. It's the pack against one man here, the Kiwi, Aaron Gate. The others in the distance are dropped, and the pack, as you can see, hovering. We're racing towards the roundabout. They'll turn right, and then the bound for Mitchelton Winery.
And one of the small glimmers of hope for Gates is that there's some confusion in the peloton as they catch 8 of the 9 breakaways.
Well, 24 hours ago, this man was under extreme pressure and was temporarily out of the yellow jersey. Damien Howson shakes his head there, though. He is under pressure as well. Sky definitely want this race, and they are pile driving the front.
And it's all for their sprinter, because included in the chase, Kenny Allison in 3rd place overall. This is Chris Froome, who we've seen doing so much of the work.
Well, can you believe how much work he really is doing there? Chavez is just behind him, sitting on the wheel of Chris Froome. They were the 2 favourites to win this race, and it doesn't look as though they're going to now. And for the stage, is this man going to survive? It looks as though that Aaron Gate is now totally re-inspired by this new team.
Seeing the chase behind by Chris Froome, how much pressure is that putting on the young shoulders of Danny Van Poppel?
A good question indeed. That's the roundabout. It's a big one. They've all got to go around the far side of it. Nobody cutting through the inside as they make the approach now. Time gap is 34 seconds. Once they make this turn and line up, they are going to see the New Zealand rider right in the front of their gun sights.
Well, the whole peloton being directed up the inside, so they're taking the short line and, importantly, the safer line through. Aaron Gates still off the front. The time check, he doesn't need a watch. He can look across his shoulder and he'll be able to see the peloton breathing down his neck.
Not a pretty sight. We've still got a couple of survivors from the breakaway, but the peloton have got them in sight now. Surely they can't survive. This, unfortunately, is a long straight road now. Then we cross over a narrow river bridge. We turn slightly left and then right into the winery. It is a tricky last kilometre and a half.
And there'll be no sneaking through stealth bomber style for Aaron Gate. The peloton will be able to see the riders who have been dropped and then the commissaire's car, the official car that is behind the race leader.
Well, there'll be no flooding today from the Goulburn River because the temperatures really hit the high spots of this week. It is very, very warm. The cars will have to go and leave this man to his fate if that is what it's going to be, because Aaron Gate now, they want a gap there to stop anybody coming across if possible.
And 5 kilometres to go. Behind him, the big battle for position. That's Ian Stannard, who stretches his legs after doing so much taste.
But can you believe the pressure of the race from Sky, and it's taken them all this while. Now, how much energy have they used, which they might have used to lead out Van Poppel?
And then what happens tomorrow? Do they pay the price? Aaron Gate with no vehicles in that gap, 20 seconds, a little more than 4 kilometres still to race.
Well, with the best will in the world, you can't ride at 55 kilometres an hour for all of the day, and that's been around what they've been doing at times. And there's a crash here. Well, it's a dead straight road. It has to be a touch of wheels, but there's a lot of riders gone down, and we can see 146 there. That's Jamie Fouché of New Zealand who's gone down.
Well, importantly, none of the big favourites. This is near the back of the peloton, the riders who have been interrupted by that fall.
Totally unexpected. Caden Groves is down too from the St. George team. This is one of the Philippine riders.
That was Craig Evers, who looked to be the worst injured of all the riders who have gone down. The Gazprom team, they had Pavel Brut in the break all day. Now they're chasing over the bridge. He's almost there. He can see the entry gates in from here, Aaron Gate, to the winery.
Well, this is the bridge across the Goulburn River, which runs through the winery as well. This is Chris Froome now. He's sat up because he knows the time has been taken 3 kilometres out. They announced that at the start today. It's up to the sprinters now. Nobody loses time. And still they haven't got it together, but this is a very fragmented. But I think there's been another crash there.
There has been another fall on the left-hand turn. There's the yellow jersey of Hausen. Michael Hepburn leads them into the winery with Mitch Docker just behind him.
Well, the only good news for the entry is that's a adverse camber in their favour, but this is the ruckus behind. There's an awful lot of riders gone down here. Van Poppel is involved.
And the white jersey, Jai Hindley, the best young rider and second overall, has also been caught up by this fall.
Brenton Jones has gone as well. He's on the right of the road, I think. It's taken out an awful lot of sprinters. There's a group of maybe 25 riders ahead of the race now, going for the sprint. Now, the riders don't lose any time, but they certainly lose a lot of pride here.
All the chasing from Team Sky and their sprinter, Van Poppel, his chances spoiled by that crash.
Well, these riders left to sort themselves out. There's poor Brenton Jones, who was looking for the finish today, and he's out of the hunt now, because the main field is getting into the winery as we rejoin them. They're swinging into what is a long straight finish towards the line here now. Mitch Docker is challenging in the lime green helmet, but look at the riders who are coming through. This is Travis McCabe here. He is a very good sprinter. He's an American from Tucson, Arizona, and he's just got himself the stage win.
McCabe with the win. Docker, he had the lead out from Hepburn, finished in second position, and it was Lee Howard in third. But Danny Van Poppel, the man who Chris Froome was chasing for, you can see the damage done to Van Poppel.
Yes, damaged racing shorts there, a bit of lycra burn, but he's okay, and that's the most important thing. Damien Hausen, delayed by the accident, is coming in. Nobody loses time. The overall will stay the same. But that's a shame that we had those two crashes, because the big sprinters were right amongst it, and all of the hard work done by Chris Froome, number one, and his team to try and get Van Poppel to the line first, spoilt in the end by the crash.
And you could see Van Poppel's frustration as they entered that second last right-hand turn. And look at the expression on his face. None too pleased. That was a day where he was the big favourite and he would have been so difficult to beat. But it's Travis McCabe who gets the spoils of victory.
And that's the annual victory for Team UHC, because they always seem to come good during this race, and it's a good sprint too.
He had the wheel of Mitch Docker right throughout that lead out. No teammates there with him, but he managed to get the win with perfect timing and brute power.
You always get that high when you win, and this was no different. I mean, in January, coming out here with the race and coming out with a win is awesome. So I'm over the moon with it right now.
Your team has been in all the breakaways, making sure you're represented. Was the pressure then back on you in the peloton if it came together?
Oh yeah, that was the plan. I mean, we wanted to put someone in the break today because we knew it was going to come down to a sprint finish, or we had a pretty good idea. But when we put Adrian in the break, that kind of took pressure off of us not having to chase. So we know we had a strong team, and we wanted to use all the guys up in the end for that finish because we knew it was going to be really hairy. So I had guys like Tanner Putt, Lachlan Norris, Johnny Clark, everyone just taking care of me. We stayed calm and out of trouble, and with the last K to go, it was up to me to get that win. So.
Aaron, what are your team meetings like? Because the Aqua Blue team have been on a breakaway every race you've ridden in this country so far.
Well, I guess, yeah, we're a new team and we want to make a statement that we're here to race, and if we can keep doing that, then that's great. And I mean, Connor showed that being in the breakaway can definitely pay off with his result yesterday, and I guess the most aggressive jersey is the consolation prize for almost but not quite, but at least Lee was able to get up there at the podium for the sprint finish, so it was great to sort of cover off all bases in the race today.
That was a frenetic finish. What happened, Jai?
Yeah, I mean, I was just trying to position myself as best as I could, and it's been a pretty long day, and I guess everyone was pretty tired, and I don't know what happened, maybe guys touched wheels, but there was just a bit of a pile up in front, and I just went straight over the top.
One day to go, you're still within 38 seconds of that yellow jersey. Can you challenge Damien Housen?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to give it a good crack tomorrow, I reckon. We've got a pretty strong team here, and everyone's riding pretty well. So, yeah, look to see us ride aggressive tomorrow.
Another nervous day. The sprinters had their chance today, and of course everyone is fighting and jostling for position in that final 5 kilometres. So made for some dangerous, exciting racing, but I'm happy to get through unscathed.
The move, I mean, I think it was a collection of moves. Really, it was just staying safe and out of trouble. The big one was just avoiding that crash in that last K&a half to go. Once I made it out of that and I came into that corner third wheel behind Mitch Docker, I knew I had a really good chance of winning.
Travis McCabe on the podium with Docker and Howard either side of him. A big smile on the face of the American, and understandably so. It was Luke Rowe in 4th position, the winner of yesterday's stage. It was then Alexis Tchechov in 5th place for the Gazprom team. Ben Hill was 6th. Aaron Gade from the Aqua Blue team, the Irish squad, he gets the bicycle beer most aggressive prize. He was the last caught from the breakaway. The white jersey, Jai Hindley, he avoided the carnage and he saved his lead in the best young rider classification, ahead of 2 of his teammates, Michael Storer and Lucas Hamilton, in the minor placings. The green jersey for the Metro Trains, the points classification. Jacob Kaufman, he's still 10 points ahead of Luke Rowe. Robbie Hucker's in 3rd position, but Kaufman will have a battle on his hands tomorrow in the final stage. The King of the Mountains jersey, the Subaru King of the Mountains classification is all to play for on the final stage around Kinglake. At the moment, it's a narrow 4-point lead for Ben Hill ahead of Damien Housen. Hill will need to get into a breakaway tomorrow. The yellow jersey for Damien Housen, it was nervous yesterday, nervous today, but not quite as bad. With 1 day remaining, 38 seconds his advantage over Jai Hindley. I caught up with him after the stage.
Of the rivals that are within striking distance, who do you fear the most?
Jai is a quality bike rider and he's only 38 seconds behind, so with the depth of the Australian national team have, I'm sure they're gonna try something tomorrow, and yeah, we'll have to wait and see.
Not concerned about a guy called Chris Froome?
Chris Froome, yeah.
A gorgeous place to end stage 4, Mitchelton Winery, 180 kilometres to the north of Melbourne, and a short ride down the Goulburn River from Nagambie. It's home of some of the great wines of Victoria, plus there's the Ministry of Chocolate, fine dining, and what a brilliant location to host events like weddings. But today, it hosted the end of the stage, and one for the sprinters, Travis McCabe got up.
He did indeed. He profited by the crash, I guess, but he was a clear winner and he came up the home straight with plenty of time for a victory salute, and a deserved win because he is a pure sprinter and he won well.
The big favourite before the stage was Danny Van Poppel. He crashed. The team director for Travis said it would have been nice to see him sprint against Danny Van Poppel. I think McCabe is just happy with the result regardless.
I think I'd stick with what you've got. You never know. If Van Poppel had been there, he is very quick, and he's been so consistently in the top 3 finishes this year.
And you wanted Mitch Docker to win at Mitchelton.
I did, because all I wanted to say was Mitch from Mitchelton. But sadly he was second.
His teammate Damien Housen in the yellow jersey, another slightly nervous day with those crashes inside the final few kilometres.
Yeah, the judges made the right call, of course. There's a rule on the stage sprint that in the last 3 kilometres everybody gets the same time in case there's a crash, and there were 2 crashes, so good decision.
There's 1 day to go. It's around Kinglake. He has a 38-second advantage over Jai Hindley, but Chris Froome at 1 minute and 12 seconds, you cannot write Froome off.
Absolutely not. Remember Arthur's Seat last year? Chris Froome took the race by the scruff of the neck and he won clearly. So we expect a great day out. There is a problem with the weather. Rain is threatened. Let's hope it stays away.
Damien Housen has got 1 day to go to defend that yellow jersey. He understands the history of the sport and he knows if he wins, he joins an honour roll that includes 2 Tour de France winners. Housen is heading to Kinglake.